11. Okay. So we'll be to order at 11:34. This is a session of council to for information gathering related to a planning matter that was on the last two council meeting agendas. So I think I'll turn it over to Derek at this point. I believe you received a series of questions, Derek, from various council members.
Hi, sorry, Russ, I can't see, I don't know if you can see us, but I think we have to adopt the agenda, do we not?
Yes, I was just looking at that. Sorry, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just trying to find my agenda. Oh, I remember where I put it. My apologies, everyone. So we have one item on the agenda is the discussion of S22-2941 and variation order 89-2022. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move.
Councillor Prychin moves it. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Deputy Mayor Hobie seconds. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and that's carried. So there's two items for discussion, as we mentioned, the variation order and the subdivision order. So I'm not quite sure how we want to proceed here, but perhaps Derek, you could address the questions you received and then provide some information regarding them.
Sure, maybe I'll just start it off. I think probably the process that would be best, I did receive some questions, but I do have to say I'm hesitant to provide some of this information just because it doesn't pass FIPLA tests. And you're asking for information on files outside of a public hearing. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to have such a discussion or not, but perhaps maybe you should do a roundtable of councillors can ask questions and I can, to the best of my ability, see what I can provide for input. If that sounds good to you. Okay,
fair enough. And just for the record, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already after the meeting started, but Councillor Prine won't be able to join us today. He sends his regrets, and I don't have sufficient Wi-Fi to appear by video, so I am a voice in the ether, I'm afraid. Okay, so I'll put it out to council members to ask questions if they seek information. All right, Mayor Sewell.
Yes, okay, thank you, Russ. Thank you, Derek, for having this. I think the purpose is, it all started with an email received from a resident who is also a member of the church. As you know, a lot of questions have come up. I know myself personally, I'm receiving emails, phone calls about the process. Council, I agree, should be at this point in our term, should all be fully aware of the process. And I don't want to put you in Red River Planning in any awkward position. And I know questions are to be asked, like when the applications come before us. But in light of all what's going on in this resident email of September 23rd, I would just wish the clarification be given, like on the process, because I fully understand, and I hope all of council does, once we hear an application at the council level, then it goes to Red River Planning. We're generally not filled in with anything, you know, after the fact. But concerns that are for myself and that have been raised is now we're dealing with, we passed the subdivision, then now the variation is before us, and now again it's a tie vote after two votes. And I personally, I don't know how many times we can keep voting on, you know, the same vote, but I would appreciate it. Just can you answer basic questions like, when was the building permit originally applied for? When was it issued? We know there was no existing access at our original March 8th meeting. Our RPD advised not to approve is not in compliance with development plan, and MIT had opposition to access off number 9. So one of my questions was, because the last page was not included in our council agenda package, are you able to clarify who was the applicant, Hunt Mellon or Valley Fiber, for this application? Because it appears with all the information supplied from the resident who's a trustee with the church, there's a lot of information here I've never seen before. I can't speak for the rest of council. The resident confirms they had only consulted with Valley Fiber. So that's why my question is, who is the applicant on this?
Okay, so just so I'm clear, there was an email that I haven't seen that has gone around where there's some issues that have been brought up. And there's not necessarily a technical planning issue for that council wants addressed. This is more to address some issues that are, I guess I'll say, out in the ether in the public forum. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
No.
No.
I know well, see, Norm, okay. For example, in the past, we've had before council on the agenda, an app under the planning. We've
Perhaps I
had,
could asking questions of the planner, because that's the purpose of this meeting. So what question do you have for the planner? Your question was, who was the applicant on the subdivision or
Yes.
the variation? Okay.
on the subdivision.
So, Mr. Planner, I guess there's some confusion as to who the applicant was for the subdivision.
Yeah, so for the subdivision, the applicant's name was provided, I believe, on the first page of our report. It's a law office.
Mm,
Is that it?
okay,
Sorry, you cut out there?
Sorry, I was just saying, okay, thank you. Does that answer the question, Marisol?
well, I don't know what questions I can ask, because I know it's all over where, it's past the council level. I'm just asking for clarification on the points raised by the public and by the church trustee. But I don't know, dear, are we allowed to question this now and get clarification?
Well, what I would say is the time to ask questions about an application is during the actual public hearing process.
I fully understand that. But now this church trustee that sent the email provided, and he copied all of council on it, provided us with a bunch of additional information that occurred after the subdivision application and speaking for myself, I was personally not aware of these things. And at the original hearing, Santan was present. The church never came forward with any information, or there were no presenters at that hearing.
Okay, so is there a question for the planner here? I'm just wondering what the question is. You said you were seeking clarification. Perhaps you could be more specific.
Okay, here's my question. When was the building permit applied for the subdivision? When was the building permit issued? Please.
Sorry, building permit on the site?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't give that information out in a public forum. We don't disclose information on building permits to the public.
Oh, because we used to get reports. Long time, when I was counselor yet, because when I was on our RPD, we used to get reports, like a status report of what was issued when.
How many permits have been issued within a given month or a year? Yes, we don't give out any information on any specifics on building permits to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Planner. Are there other questions for the planner? Deputy Mayor Hobie?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of comments. It's unfortunate that not everybody is here today that should be here, particularly when that email was sent by a particular council. I'm feeling that there's pushback to want to answer questions. I'm just going to say it like that. And that's really unfortunate, because the accusations that were made in that email were that everybody on council knew everything from RRPD, and when the planning came forward, and based on information that we're trying to ask, I would say that's not accurate. I guess my other question is it normal, because I've had so many people, like residents, contact me about this situation. Is it normal process that when the variation order has not been, sorry, my battery's running out here. When the variation order hasn't been actually voted on yet. Well, actually it has been voted on, it was defeated, but we've brought it back now twice. Is it normal procedure that we allow residents to, I'm just gonna be frank, to start building before the file is closed?
So you're asking if someone can build something on a property before a variance or before the
Well,
variance in this case is closed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, quite frankly, yes. Because
Okay,
that's
so-
what I'm getting questioned by residents, that we're still discussing this file, but it seems like everything with this file has been completed.
Okay,
Is-
so the two files that were before council, one was to subdivide off a piece of the property, and the other one was a variance, which is a condition of approval of the subdivision. And the variance is for as you're aware, to vary the size of the lot because it doesn't adhere to the minimum site standards. A building permit is not subsequent to subdivision approval, or in this case, this variance approval. The variance and the subdivision are tied together. So if someone meets their setbacks for a building, meets the code requirements for a building, the use is allowed on the property, they can get a building permit independent of a subdivision. It'd be no different than having a bare piece of land, for example, that someone wants to subdivide off for residential use, but in the meantime, getting a permit to build a house on that residential land. So a permit to build something that's allowed is an independent process from subdividing off a piece of land.
So then so what you're saying is that if a resident wanted to pursue something like this, then it would be okay and allowed for them to start building before anything's been finalized?
Well, what I would say is in this case, the subdivision is not, it's not imperative that a subdivision even be taking place, or it needs to be approved to put that building up there. They're two completely different things.
Okay, so then my other question would be, would that normally take place when the RRP actually did not recommend to approve this? And it was on in your paperwork, in our package, your recommendation was to not approve.
Our recommendation was not to approve a subdivision of land because of the size of it does not meet the standards. And at that time, there was significant concerns from highways, I believe, for access to the property. Our recommendation to not approve had nothing to do with building a building or putting a certain land use on the property.
Okay.
Okay,
So I think that the other issues that we seem to have not been provided information, and other people seem to have known before all the other members of council at the same time, was that issue of access to the land.
So it should be noted that our package did indicate that highways had no further concerns with the variance, meaning that the condition of access was met. So, what's your question, Councillor Hobie?
Well, I think I think we're put in a little bit of a situation here where it's clear Mayor Sewell has questions, but it's also clear that there might be a little pushback to answering all of the questions she had. So I'm uncomfortable with that.
I'm not sure that there's pushback. I'm hearing that the planner is indicating that there's constraints within which he needs to operate.
Okay.
Are there questions for the planner? Mayor Sewell?
Thank you. But just in response to this last question, but Councillor Garvey, you state that highways for the variance, highways granted approval. But we were not advised of that. We were advised of that last week when I requested, and I thank Colleen for sending us the information. We were advised of that September 9th. We were never advised of that prior to that. I mean, I'm personally speaking for myself. I didn't get this, the permit and all the conditions until last week, September 29th, when Colleen sent it to all of council. So see, I think that's where the confusion is. We're getting this particular applications is all done by piecework. And even after the Red River Planning Board hearing on April 27th, that was live streamed, information was given by Councillor Prychin and Proyne that was never brought up at our council meeting on March the 8th. And I think that's what's led to all the confusion on this file.
What information are you referring to, Mayor Sewell?
Perhaps.
Because there's been lots
So
of
I think
active
the purpose,
comments that
let's stick to the purpose of our meeting is to ask clarification from the planner. So if there's questions for the planner, I'm happy to hear them.
No, I get that, Russ. I think we're wasting time here, and this has turned into more of a campaign issue here or something. I don't know what the problem is, but when people make accusations and say that other people knew information that others didn't, and this has been going around and around and around, and all kinds of comments are being made, that's completely unfair and untrue. So I would be very careful who you start pointing the finger at. And I'd like to know what comments you're referring to that were made by Mr. Proyne and myself.
Well, the chair is not going to allow me to question you. And if you watch the April 27th Red River Planning Board meeting, you'll see you and both you councillors are reps on the board, comments that you had made. I've transcribed the comments. I have the exact marks from the tape. You should know what you said, and it's clear you and John were making comments that the rest of council did not know about. And this is not a campaign issue. This is to address this email received about all the information claiming I knew that I knew nothing about. And Councillor Proyne keeps saying all of council received the information at the same time, but all the documented proof and the tape in our paperwork shows differently. So
Okay.
I think Derek is right. Some of this is not involvement for RRPD. We can't get full answers on what I would have liked to get confirmation on. So I don't know how we're going to address this issue.
Okay, so further to our sole agenda item, are there further questions for the planner to seek clarification? Okay, hearing and seeing none, then I will call for a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Hobie.
Thank you. Sorry, so I just want clarification at that September planning meeting. Sorry, I'm trying not to get my dates messed up here. At that meeting, we were not aware, so that they were, at that meeting, it was, I believe, the first planning meeting in September, it was recommended still by RRPD not to approve the variance. I hope I'm getting this right, because there's so much file with this file. Because, and at that time, we were not made aware of access to the location off the highway. Is this correct? Sorry, I know I'm probably getting this confused now.
No, I can provide a little bit of information on that, maybe some clarification. So our office provides recommendations on the subdivisions. We don't actually provide recommendations on variances or conditional uses, because as you're aware, the criteria for approval under the Planning Act is very subjective. It's not quantitative things like in a subdivision. Do you meet certain policies, that sort of thing. In a variance, it's very subjective. So the things like does it fit within the context of the neighborhood? That's kind of one of the criteria. That's a question for council members to answer. So we don't actually provide recommendations on variances. The variance once again was for lot size. Which was a condition of the subdivision. At that time, the variance isn't dealing with anything to do with access to the property or drainage. The only sole question on the variance was, is council okay with the lot sizes that were proposed? That's it. So I hope that clarifies things.
Thank you, Dirk.
Okay, thank you,
If I
Mr.
may-
Klein.
Oh.
Mayor,
Russ, I don't know if you can see me, but to clarify for Deputy Mayor Hobie, this matter first came before council, not September, but it was March 8th, 2022 was the original application.
okay. All right, are there any further questions for the planner? Thank you, Mr. Planner. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. I believe okay, Councillor Paul moves to adjourn. Seconder. Mayor Sewell, seconds. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. That's great. Planner, everyone have a good day.